So somewhere I have cassettes, hours and hours of me just making chit-chat with a very young Michael McConaughey.
But he doesn't talk like that anymore.
No, he doesn't. It was just he was 7, 8 years old.
On the second day of filming Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks thought his career might be over. Director Robert Zemeckis looked him straight in the eye and said, "You're pushing too hard." Those 5 words stayed with Hanks for decades. He was sick, blistered, and running 5 miles a day with a fever, trying to prove himself. He didn't tell the crew, didn't slow down, didn't stop. When he muttered the now iconic line, "I just felt like running," it wasn't written in the script. It came from a place of pure exhaustion. A man breaking down inside, but refusing to let the camera see it. Forrest Gump went on to make $677 million and win 6 Oscars. But the real cost was invisible. Hanks's body was wrecked, his mind drained, and his soul tested more than ever before. Long before the fame, before the awards and red carpets, Tom Hanks's life was chaos. Born in 1956 in Concord, California, he grew up in a family constantly on the move. His parents divorced when he was just 4, leaving him shuffled between cities like Sacramento, Red Bluff, and Oakland. 7 homes before age 10. He never unpacked his suitcase because he never knew how long he'd stay. His father, Amos, battled alcoholism and poverty so severe that they once lived in a converted garage with no kitchen, no running water, just a hot plate and an outdoor tap. Nights were filled with arguments, and days were spent pretending everything was okay. Tom later said it felt like being a visitor in his own life. That kind of childhood forces a person to adapt, to read people, to survive. And he carried that skill into every role he ever played. But even in that hardship, something magical was forming. Every weekend, he'd escape into movie theaters for 50 cents. There, the flickering light of films gave him peace. Jimmy Stewart, Gary Cooper, and Cary Grant became his silent mentors. Movies taught him empathy before the world ever did. At 8 years old, he was already writing and performing backyard plays with cardboard boxes for sets and bed sheets for curtains. It wasn't just play, it was purpose. By high school, he'd found himself in drama class, performing in South Pacific and The Music Man. For the first time, people clapped for him. After years of feeling unseen, that applause changed him. But life didn't stay kind. His mother remarried a strict truck driver named Leo, who ruled their house like a military camp. Tom was 15 when Leo smashed his box of movie clippings for skipping chores. That night, Tom ran away from home and slept in a friend's car for 4 nights, living off vending machine snacks. He came back changed, determined to never let anyone break him again. At 17, he was working as a bellhop, carrying luggage for $3.50 an hour, taking night classes, and dreaming about acting. He was broke, but he never stopped trying. He met his first wife, actress Susan Dillingham, in a college play, and together they struggled through years of rejection, scraping by on small theater jobs. His first movie paycheck? $800. But even that felt like gold. Hollywood didn't open its arms easily. Hanks was rejected from more than 200 auditions before his first TV break in Bosom Buddies, a sitcom so ridiculous he tried to ruin the audition on purpose. Yet that nervous energy became the very thing that got him cast. From there, he worked non-stop, writing, improvising, even staying up for 48 hours straight to fix scripts. But when the show ended, he was back to square one, broke, unemployed, and deep in debt. Just when it looked over, Ron Howard called. He'd seen Hanks on Happy Days and wanted him for a film called Splash. That one call changed his life. Still, fame didn't come without pain. He lost 40 pounds for Philadelphia, pushing his body to the edge to portray a man dying of AIDS. The role won him his first Oscar, but left him with permanent health effects that later contributed to his type 2 diabetes. Then came Castaway, where he dropped another 55 pounds, spending months isolated on an island set. The transformation was so extreme that production had to pause for an entire year. That film, like his life, became a story of survival, of holding on when there's no one else around. Off-screen, the struggles were just as real. His first marriage collapsed after he fell in love with Rita Wilson, his co-star in Volunteers. The divorce was bitter, the tabloids brutal. He lost friends, privacy, and time with his children. But Hanks admitted later that the affair was his fault, that his own loneliness and fear of failure had driven him to make choices he couldn't undo. His second marriage to Rita became his anchor, lasting through illness, fame, and scandal. Together they survived public criticism, his son Chet's addiction, and the terrifying days in 2020, when both tested positive for COVID-19 while filming Elvis in Australia. Even at the height of success, doubt followed him. Hanks has said that on the second day of every movie shoot, even now, he still questions whether he deserves to be there. It's a quiet insecurity that no award can erase. He once told an interviewer, "I feel like a fraud every time, until the work proves otherwise." That humility, that fragile honesty, is what makes him one of the most respected actors alive. Through decades of ups and downs, broken homes, failed projects, sickness, loss, Tom Hanks remains proof that greatness doesn't come from ease. It comes from endurance. The boy who once lived in a garage became the man who could carry entire generations through stories that made them cry, laugh, and believe again. At 69, he says he finally feels better than he did in his 30s. He works out, eats clean, and values peace over perfection. He jokes that gravity's winning, but his spirit's lighter than ever. Whether it's as Forrest, Chuck Noland, Captain Miller, or Woody the Cowboy, Tom Hanks gave us pieces of himself that came from real pain, real struggle, and real heart. He didn't just play characters, he lived them. Want more stories that reveal the hidden truths behind Hollywood's biggest legends? Subscribe to The Backstage Eyes, where fame fades but the real stories begin.